All right, what's up, y'all? We back with another video podcast, whatever you want to call it. If you notice the audio sounds different, I'm finally home for the summer. I ain't got to worry about the classes for a while. I'm glad I'm home. But today we're talking about the defense. A few things have come up and it's really intrigued me and I want to talk about it. And the things I'm referring to are the interviews from the coaches and also from the rookies from the rookie mini camp practices. Even though it's only been one practice, I learned a lot just from hearing Jalon talking. So before we get into this, if you are a Falcons fan, Atlanta fan, whatever, please be sure to subscribe because I'm uploading a lot of this stuff more often. I appreciate the growth that I've been getting. I've been getting a lot of love lately and I appreciate all of it. So this year, I feel like the energy is different. The staff has changed. The depth chart's gotten deeper and the guys we're bringing in, they actually fit what the coaches are trying to build. This isn't like Jimmy Lake where he's going to force the guys to play a 3-4 and 2 gap and we have the gap shooters on the defensive line. Like that just doesn't mix. And also, before we really talk about things, I tweeted about this earlier. You should follow me on Twitter. That's the easiest way to get in touch with me. That I feel like this year there's a lot of competition on the defensive side of the ball now. Like if you look at the past few years, there really wasn't any competition. Guys, their jobs aren't on the line. You can name a few guys right now that their job is on the line. Okay, D. Alford, his job is on the line, even though I think it's pretty much took probably. Arnold Ebiketie, his job is on the line. Braylon Trice has something to prove. Like there's a lot of storylines coming into this year where guys are on 1-year deals or guys they're on the hot seat and undrafted guys or rookies in general just trying to make an impact early. Like there's a lot of competition on this defensive side of the ball and I feel like they're gonna make each other better and this defense is gonna be way different from what we saw this past season. So I want to get into the video where they were interviewing, the position coaches and the coordinators. And I want to talk about Nate Ollie's section of the video because I took a lot from that because he's the defensive line coach. And there's 2 main things that I really just took away from it. Really 3 if you want to count, the players. But let's get into it. So I learned that, the run fits are probably changing, okay? Now, I think we're going to still stay in the 3-4, which, I have mixed feelings about, but it's really not up to me. But the difference is Nate Ollie said these guys are going to be more of an attacking type of front. And if you don't understand, coach's language, so generically a 3-4 defense, let's explain what that means for the people who don't know. So if you're in a 3-4 defense, by nature, your run fits or your D linemen aren't going to be as aggressive in the run game, right? They're going to be holding up the point of attack and allowing the linebackers and the safeties to flow and fill the run, okay? Now, on the flip side, you have the 4-3 defense where it's more, let's get upfield, let's disrupt the play, let's get in the backfield quickly, okay? You don't have to hold up 2 different gaps. In a 4-3, you can just straight up go. 3-4, you have to hold up a gap. You have to go back into a different gap if the run, goes another direction. It's just different. And that's why I kind of disagree when people saying, being in the 3-4 or 4-3 doesn't matter. And I always say, yes, it does because the run fits will change. But if we're going to stay in this 3-4 but be an attacking style defense, I want to see what that looks like because I've never honestly seen it. And I'm pretty much intrigued to see what it looks like. And the next thing I want to talk about is really the next 2 things. But Nate Ollie talked about the personnel on the team, which mainly is talking about Brandon Dorlus and Zach Harrison. But he talked about those guys, and I really just want to focus on Zach and Brandon, where he referred to those guys as big ends. And if you don't know what that means, it's once again just coaching terminology. And from my research and my interpretation of what he was, referring to, a big end is a defensive end, obviously, who's bigger in stature. So think Zach Harrison, he's about 6'6", 270, 280, right? Brandon Dorlus isn't as big. He's about 6'3", 290-ish, so he's a bit on the smaller side. But their primary responsibility is early down responsibility, stopping the run, setting the edge, okay? And if you follow me on Twitter, I did a Zach Harrison film breakdown where I talked about his role on the team where I was like, bro, why is his snaps getting cut in half? He has a great opportunity to be a run defender in this league. His pass rush, it has some upside, but, he mainly relies on power in that instance. But I mainly see his role on this team as being a run defender because he's really good at what he does in the run. As for Brandon Dorlus, I really don't know. Like, he's rarely talked about, in my opinion. Like, I remember when they dropped the rookie pictures, or not the rookie. I remember when they dropped, the OTA pictures, and I saw Brandon Dorlus. I'm like, wait, who is that? And I had to see who was tagged. I'm like, oh, wait, that's Brandon because I really just haven't seen his face much. I've seen Rook more than anything because his personality is more outgoing. So he's more outspoken, you're going to see him more. But Nate Ollie, he also referred to Brandon Douglas as a big end, but he also cited his versatility because when he was over there in Houston, I think he was also, scouting them like any other team does with defensive linemen. And he also cited his versatility, his ability to play up and down the line of scrimmage. And I'm not going to compare Brandon Douglas to any of these guys I'm about to mention, but if you look at successful defenses, think the Chiefs, the Rams from 2021, and also the Bucs from 2020, you had guys like Vita Vea on the Bucs. You had Aaron Donald. You had Chris Jones. Those guys could play up and down the line of scrimmage, and it made guys' jobs easier. And I'm not saying Brandon Douglas is going to be at that level because that's pretty hard to do because those guys are all pros, Pro Bowls, all of that, Hall of Famers even. But having a guy that can do that can unlock your defense. And it's so refreshing to hear that guys that were on the team last year have actual roles, and we aren't really depending on veterans anymore. And it feels like ever since about 2020 that we've just been recycling veterans, older guys, and it's like no wonder our defense is bad. We have older guys on the team and we're relying on them to be consistent. No, we need youth. We need youth everywhere. And I'm glad that we are going with that process of playing the rookies more because you don't play the veterans out of respect. This isn't college Jimmy Lake. You don't have a good group of veterans that are getting it done. You play who's the best available. Zach Harrison was the best available, but you chose who? James Smith-Williams? But the next thing I do want to talk about is another interview, but this was from the rookie mini camp where it was after the first day. I was mainly paying attention to what Jalon Walker said because I felt like he was going to give me some insight of what this defense could be because he's very smart, and he did. And I know fans weren't there to see what was going on, but one of the questions that was asked was, James and Jalon, they were working out pretty much the entire practice, and they wanted to know why that was. And Jalon Walker said, hey, man, we're both outside backers, so we're going to be working together. We're going to be, making each other better. Iron sharpens iron, yada, 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 all of that. And I took two things from that, and we're going to talk about the other one a little bit later. But the first thing I took from that is, they see James Pierce Jr. as an outside linebacker, so that means he's probably going to be standing up. And if you watch any of my videos from the past where I was talking about James Pierce Jr., I saw him more as a defensive end type of guy, right? Because those two positions are different. Let's keep that in mind. D end and outside linebacker, they're different. They could be categorized as edge, but they are completely different positions. But I'm glad I had clarity on what they see him as position-wise, because I did also talk about, hey, man, if we're going to be in this 3-3-5, he could be the defensive end, and Jalon Walker could be the outside linebacker or the rush linebacker in this situation. And, we could do a lot of nasty things on defense. And I don't think we're going to necessarily pigeonhole James Pierce Jr. into just being just an outside linebacker. I think we're going to also have him play some defensive end because he can do it. It's in his repertoire. So why not let him do what he can also, excel at? And I'm going to hint at it before I really get into it. But this opens up a different package that we can run on the defense, especially in those passing situations. And we're going to talk about it in a minute. And the main component that really ties that package together is having, guys like Caden Ellis and Devon Diablo. And it's leading me to my next point. So if you didn't watch the Devon Diablo video, I talked about his versatility because he is a safety. He converted from safety to play linebacker. But if you look at his film, he can play on the edge. He could play walk up to the front and blitz and win against those running backs in pass protection, okay? He can cover. He can fill in the run. He can also be a good run defender on the edge, which kind of surprised me. But, Caden, he's already shown that ability. He can go get sacks. He can go win and get pressure on the quarterback. And having Devon Diablo who can also do that, it opens up this defense a whole bunch more. And I think it's going to be those instances where the offense, they just see a simple four-man front. They're probably thinking, okay, it's just these four guys we got to account for. But boom, you see Caden Ellis screaming off the edge, or Devon Diablo's knifing through the A-gap against the running back and running the running back over for a free sack. And with the way this roster is being built, I feel like we finally have those second-level guys who can also contribute to, affecting the quarterback from a passing situation. Not just getting picks, but also getting him on the ground. And so when we piece it together with what Jalon Walker, with what Nate Ollie said, and how our inside linebackers fit on this defense, schematically, things are shifting. It's not subtle. It's not just a new year. It's a new era. So with Grady out of the picture this year, the identity up front has changed. You have guys like David Onyemata, who I thought we were going to cut, honestly. Morgan Fox, we got from free agency, and Ruka Roro, he's taking a step. He's getting more reps. He's going to have a bigger role in this team. Those guys are now your anchors up front. So I think on those early downs, we can see more 3-4, and especially with Devon Diablo's, his ability to cover, his versatility, we can stay in base with some teams that go 11 personnel on early downs because he can cover. He can cover space. He's more instinctual as a cover guy than our other linebackers. So, hey, seeing him on a receiver, it really wouldn't bother me because I know he could do it. But I think where it really gets fun is talking about the passing situation. So I talked about it earlier with the new packages that we could possibly see, but based on Jalen Walker's comments, I think we're going to be heading towards more of a 2-4-5 package, okay? It's 2 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers, 2 outside and 2 inside, and then the 5 DBs, however that want to fit, or however you want to plug in, the guys that are going to be competing for the roster spots. And I think we would do that more than the traditional 3-3-5 nickel set is because, like I said, we have both James Pierce Jr. and Jalon Walker playing outside linebacker, so why not have them on the field at the same time in passing situations? We could see a 2-4-5 package. And just speculating, so since this is a passing down, I would think Morgan Fox, who's more of a DPR defensive lineman, we could put Brandon Dorless inside because, like I said, he has the versatility to play inside. You could put James Pierce and Jalon Walker on the edge, Caden and Devon Diablo on the inside, and whatever 5 DBs you want to put, not named AJ and Jesse, okay? Like, that is going to be a very fun package to see. Don't be surprised if we roll out that package week 1 because I think that could be one of those things that we get to in a obvious passing situation. And I think, with the 2-4 defense, it allows you to keep the speed on the field, but you can also get very creative with the blitz packages, with the pressure packages, how you scheme up your simulated pressures, all of that. You can get really creative because you have 4 linebackers on the field and they could drop, they could, all add into the blitz or the rush. They could do whatever. And it's kind of unrelated, but the NASCAR package, bro, I really want to see what that looks like. And that's more coaching terminology, but it's basically just 4 defensive ends / outside linebackers are all in the field and they're ready to rush the passer, okay? Or in some terms, or in some cases, it'll be just your 4 best pass rushers in general, okay? Like Aaron Donald, he would be on the NASCAR package, but he really wasn't a defensive end. He was a defensive tackle, but he could play outside. So he was in the NASCAR package, okay? But in my opinion, I think that would be, guys like James Pierce, Arnold Ebiketie, Jalen Walker, Leonard Floyd. Like, you can flood that field with speed in those passing situations, and you could line them all up on the line and go hunt. Well, they don't have to worry about the run. They don't have to worry about that run fit, no gap control. It's just get straight up field, push that pocket, and go put the quarterback on his ass. And that's just not something we had the bodies to do last year, or we weren't even really in position to do that anyways. And we might actually have those horses to pull it off this year, and I'm glad that we do. And it's going to be so exciting to see. And so, yeah, you can pretty much tell I'm really excited to see what it's going to look like this summer, or really this fall, honestly. But I'm just glad that we have a actual direction. We know which way this team is going to go. And if things click, this team is going to be really good this fall. And I really believe that. This isn't really about hoping the defense can hold on anymore. It's about dictating. We're going to dictate what the offense does. We're going to attack. We're going to get up in their face. We're going to make it harder for them. We're not going to sit back like Jimmy Lake, sit 10 yards off the ball as a corner, give up smoke screens 5-6 times in a drive and wonder why, oh man, they're in field goal range in the blink of an eye. Why is that? Now we got to, bow up. No, we're getting upfield. We're attacking them. We're challenging them early. I hope we challenge them early, press coverage, all that, but that's besides the point. And if this thing really clicks for us, bro, we're going to be such a problem next year, bro. We could really be the surprise team, in my opinion. But I really appreciate y'all for tapping in with me. Like I said, I appreciate this growth that I've been getting lately. I really do appreciate it because I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. It's only really been I really just started this in January. So I really appreciate y'all for tapping in with me and subscribing. But if you guys do like the Falcons, you want to see more of this content, just subscribe for more because I will be uploading more of this. Okay. And I'll see you guys later in the next video.